Facts First presents Chernobyl radioactive disaster survivor discusses life after this nuke meltdown. First, help us spread the word about Facts First by clicking that like button, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. The infamous nuclear accident at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near the now mostly abandoned town of Pripyat now has some life thanks to a local man by the name of Ivan Shemyanuk, who still lives in this former Belarusian village of Tulgovich in northern Ukraine. Shemyanuk, 90 years old now, credits his long life to not leaving his birthplace even while dozens of deaths are now attributed to this catastrophic Chernobyl nuclear reactor disaster that took place on April 26, 1986 at Reactor 4. The accident forced then-Soviet Union officials to evacuate Pripyat's then population of nearly 50,000 people, while Shemyanuk decided no, he wasn't going to leave his home. Flash forward some 30 years later, and this old man is still living in Tulgovich near Pripyat's contaminated exclusion zone without any physical health woes. This senior local man of Tulgovich no longer talks about the toxic clouds of nuclear fallout that swept all life from his hometown near the infamous Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The old man credits his village of Tulgovich as being saved when located just 30 miles from the evacuated town of Pripyat that took the brunt of nuke toxins that have killed more than 50 local people since Chernobyl's accident 30 years ago. According to Shemyanuk, he's doing great so far. At the same time, doctors recently visited him in early 2019 and found the old man to be in good health, while his sister decided to leave with the others after the nuke accident, which is credited with killing dozens of locals while leaving hundreds of other locals sick in their hearts, minds, and bodies facing such extreme nuclear toxins. On this 30th anniversary of the disaster, people like Shemyanuk, they're telling the world that there is still life in this region where the official death toll is supposedly still rising from radiation-linked diseases. Meanwhile, the old man said his life didn't change much after the Chernobyl meltdown because he continued to eat all the crops grown in his own backyard without any health problems. Shemyanuk also continued to keep livestock, such as cows, pigs, and chickens, while stating that the meat and eggs from these animals were safe to eat given his survival now of 30 years since the incident. According to Shemyanuk's recent interview, life in his hometown continues to be quiet and peaceful with time spent feeding his animals and enjoying his home-cooked meals. As for his health, the old man says there's no real problem to speak of and he's happy to enjoy a wee glass of the local vodka to help the appetite, he says. After all, it is most disconcerting to live mostly alone in a region evacuated of all human life. The Chernobyl plant accident exposed toxic nuclear materials to the air in which was then known as a 10-kilometer exclusion zone, and that zone still exists in this community near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. While Shemyanuk does not discuss what's occurring at the plant today, in 2019, he still gets tears in his eyes when he talks about how most of the residents of his community either died or were forced to leave their homes during the mass evacuation. It's somewhat difficult to understand the life of this old man who still lives in the shadow of the most infamous nuclear power plant in the world. For example, the old man doesn't speak of death or loss, but life and how to live it in a time of nuclear radiation fears. Shemyanuk seems to be one of those old-school survivors who did not view the release of high doses of radiation as a real issue for him, because Shemyanuk said this is his home and he could not imagine ever leaving, while in fact crediting his stay at living to the ripe old age of 90. Overall, this is a positive story of survival when you meet the man living in the dust and shadows of Chernobyl at the age of 90, still happy and healthy as well. Subscribe for more.